In a snow-covered corner of Riverbrook, the streets lay quiet beneath thick white drifts, the cold whispering through alleyways like a secret. Inside the red rail diner, the warmth glowed against frost-bitten windows. The scent of coffee mingled with the hum of conversation and the clink of silverware, until the door opened. 2 officers stepped into the diner, their eyes scanned, then locked on a figure by the window. A black man, alone, shoulders dusted in snow, boots leaving trails of slush. To them he looked like just another homeless wanderer. They laughed, one nudged the other, then they moved in with mockery and malice. They didn't know the man they were manhandling had led missions through Kandahar, that beneath that tattered jacket beat the heart of a soldier who'd fought and bled for the country they claimed to serve. Eli Turner didn't speak. He didn't resist. He sat as if made of stone, eyes steady, unshaken. A waitress paused mid-step. She saw what others chose to ignore. With trembling fingers, she pulled out her phone and hit record. What started as humiliation was about to spark something far bigger. Snow continued to fall, veiling the streets in silence. But the silence was a lie. Beneath it, Riverbrook trembled. The red rail diner pulsed like a heartbeat in the storm. Its windows fogged, its walls warm, yet something colder had just entered with Eli Turner. He moved through the door like a shadow, his military jacket worn and faded, a U.S. flag still stitched proudly on the shoulder. His boots were cracked and soaked. Each step left a mark on the pristine tile. Eyes followed him, some briefly, most looking away. A mother clutched her child tighter. An old man quietly slid his wallet from the table into his coat. Eli took a seat at the counter. His eyes scanned the exits like it was second nature, a habit of survival. He wasn't here to stay, only to pass through. He murmured to no one, his voice barely above a whisper. Rachel Miller, 23 years old, waitress and observer, noticed the shift in the air before she heard a word. She recognized the tension. It was something her brother, Jameson, had begun to wear ever since joining the police academy. But the weight in Eli's shoulders was older, heavier. It came from a different kind of battlefield. Before she could move toward him, she caught sight of Officers Barnes and Kyle. They sat in their regular booth, eyes already locked on Eli. Kyle lifted his coffee with a grin. Barnes smirked without saying a word. Rachel stepped up. "Can I get you something, sir?" Eli looked at her, just a nod. "Coffee, black, and whatever the special is if it's no trouble, ma'am." "Meatloaf," she answered. "Mashed potatoes and green beans." "That sounds perfect. Thank you." "Ma'am, not honey, not sweetheart. Just respect." At their booth, Kyle snorted, loud enough for all to hear. "Dumpster diving doesn't count as dining out, huh?" Barnes chuckled, adding, "Better count the silverware, Rachel." "And check the bathroom," Kyle added with a sneer. "These bums always shoot up once they're warm." Eli didn't react, just held his cup, steady hands, steady breath. Rachel flushed but kept moving. Kyle wasn't done. He dragged his presence across the room, dropped onto the stool beside Eli without invitation. Barnes flanked him. They boxed Eli in like it was a sport. Kyle looked over at Rachel. "How's your brother doing?" "Top of his class," she said carefully. "Good. We need more officers who clean up towns like this." He turned to Eli. "You know what that means? Keeping the streets safe from panhandlers, junkies, and fake vets?" Barnes leaned in. "Bet this guy's never seen a day of combat." Rachel returned with the plate. Her hands shook. "Here you go." Kyle tossed a sugar packet onto the food. "Dance for your dinner. That's how it works, right?" Eli set his cup down, slowly, picked up the sugar packet and placed it back on Kyle's side of the counter. "I earned my dignity in Kandahar," he said softly. "I don't need to earn it again from you." Barnes's hand hovered near his holster. "You threatening an officer?" "No, sir," Eli said. "Just having dinner." "You need to leave," Kyle barked. "I paid. I intend to eat." "Refusing a lawful order," Barnes stepped forward. Rachel tried to speak. "He's not causing trouble." "Stay out of it," Barnes snapped. "Your brother wouldn't like that." Rachel stepped back. Her fingers slipped into her apron. Quietly, her phone slid out. Camera on. Kyle grabbed Eli's shoulder. "On your feet." Eli didn't resist. "If something happens to me," he said to Rachel, calm as still water, "call General Whitaker at the Pentagon. Tell him Eli Turner is in trouble." Snow piled higher against the diner's door as Rachel ducked into the employee bathroom, her hands trembling around her phone. The screen glowed with one number, one name. She wasn't sure she had the right to dial. The Pentagon. She stared at it, Eli's voice echoing in her memory. "Call General Whitaker. Tell him Eli Turner is in trouble." He hadn't begged. He hadn't pleaded. He had spoken like a man giving an order, one used to being obeyed. She hit the call button. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a crisp female voice answered. "Department of Defense, how may I direct your call?" Rachel's voice cracked. I need to speak with General Whitaker. It's about Eli Turner." There was a pause, longer than normal. Then, "Please hold." Rachel expected a recorded message, a receptionist, maybe a polite brush-off. Instead, the line clicked. The tone deepened. "This is General Harold Whitaker. Who is this?" She swallowed. "My name is Rachel Miller. I work at a diner in Riverbrook. Eli Turner was just arrested. 2 officers dragged him out. He told me to call you." There was another pause, cold, sharp. Then Whitaker's voice changed. "Tell me everything." Thousands of miles away, the general rose from behind his oak desk. The snowfall outside his window blurred into memories. Dusty Kandahar, 2003. A routine patrol. An ambush. RPGs screaming into the lead and rear vehicles. Gunfire above. Whitaker, then a colonel, pinned under a flaming Humvee. His leg crushed. His men scattered. "Leave him," he'd ordered. "Survive." Only one refused. Staff Sergeant Elijah Turner. Blood down his face, eyes burning with resolve. "Not today, sir," Eli had said. "Not ever." Under fire, Eli pulled Whitaker from the wreckage, then went back, again and again, to save 3 more soldiers before air support arrived. Whitaker never forgot. Never could. Now that same man had been dragged out of a diner like trash. Back on the call, Rachel finished her story. Whitaker's tone turned steel. "You did the right thing, Miss Miller. I want that video. My aide will send you a secure number. Send it there. Then I want you to go home and stay off the radar. No news, no social media. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir," she said, breathless with fear and relief. "But what about Eli?" Whitaker's voice softened, but only slightly. "He's one of the finest soldiers I've ever known. I take care of my people." As the line disconnected, Rachel leaned against the bathroom wall, tears stinging her eyes. Her hands still shook, but she wasn't alone anymore. At that very moment, Whitaker picked up another line. "This is General Whitaker. Authorization code Sierra Echo 94 Alpha. I need immediate intervention at the Riverbrook Police Department. A decorated veteran has been detained under questionable circumstances. Defense Internal Affairs needs boots on site within the hour." He made 5 more calls. Department of Justice, Veterans Affairs, Secretary of Defense. Each one began the same way. "It's about Eli Turner." And just like that, the tide began to turn. Rachel hadn't expected the storm to come so fast. Within 48 hours of Eli's arrest, her name appeared on a local law enforcement message board, labeled "Hostile to Officers." The next morning, her boss at the Red Rail Diner called her in. Official reason? Too many absences. But the truth was written in his eyes, in the way he couldn't look at her. He had been warned. That night, a brick shattered her apartment window. Taped to it was a note scrawled in thick marker. "Cop lovers die. Cop haters die faster." Rachel didn't cry. She didn't call the police. She boarded it up herself. Eli helped, silent and steady, hammering each nail into place with calm precision. When she apologized for dragging him into her mess, he simply said, "They hit truth first, always, but they lose later." 2 states away, in Washington, D.C., Ava Washington stared at a paused frame of diner surveillance footage. Eli's face, calm, bruised, but unbroken, filled her screen. Her godfather's voice had carried weight before, but this was different. General Whitaker didn't make idle requests. When he called her, she'd packed a bag without asking why. By the time she arrived in Riverbrook, her legal team was already on alert, but the motel room she checked into had been ransacked while she was out. Drawers overturned, laptop gone, window unlatched. It wasn't a robbery. It was a message. "They're not just afraid of exposure," she told Eli, who stood beside her inspecting the damage. "They're preparing for war." Eli didn't speak, but his jaw clenched. 2 nights later, Rachel's younger brother, Jameson, showed up unannounced. He wore his police academy uniform like armor, but his face betrayed fear. "They know who you are," he told Ava. "They've seen the footage. And Brick, he says you're poking around where you don't belong." Ava narrowed her eyes. "And what does Brick tell you cadets when no one's recording?" Jameson hesitated, then sank into a chair. 3 years ago, Barnes beat a homeless guy outside a convenience store. Said the guy attacked him, but the owner's statement didn't match. The report got buried. No action taken. Now they use it as a training story. "A training story?" Rachel's voice cracked. Jameson nodded, shame rising in his throat. "Captain Brick calls it real education. How to write reports that protect the department. How to neutralize threats without consequences." "Public threats like my brother," Rachel whispered. Jameson looked down. "They keep files on you, on Ava, on everyone who speaks out." He turned to Ava. "They're not just corrupt, they're organized." The next morning, Ava began digging. Public records, court filings, formal complaints. Everything stank of rot. There were dozens of complaints against Barnes and Kyle, mysteriously withdrawn. Unhoused men arrested, then gone. No follow-ups, no trails. Ava spread the files across the table and looked at Eli. "This isn't just a few bad cops, it's a system." Eli didn't blink. "Then we treat it like one." "What do you mean?" "I mean," he said slowly, "we build a case like we're going to war." He looked up. His eyes were calm, but something behind them had awakened. "We gather evidence, witnesses, proof they can't erase." And with that, the mission changed. It wasn't just about dignity anymore. It was about dismantling the machine. The whispers on the street had a name now. Shieldmen. No badges, no paperwork, just orders. A network hidden inside law enforcement. Quiet, brutal, and protected. Ava's war had begun. 3 days after Rachel's video went online, it crossed 1 million views. A homeless veteran dragged from a diner. A waitress who risked everything. A town that looked away until the internet forced them to see. Local news caught fire. State outlets followed. Then came a national morning show. Eli Turner's mugshot flashed beside footage of him in uniform, younger, prouder, holding a folded flag. Rachel scrolled through the comments until her eyes burned. Some were cruel, most were furious. "This is America. How many others? Where's justice for our vets?" But the backlash came just as fast. Rachel's phone rang constantly. Blocked numbers, silent threats, heavy breathing. Her apartment door was tagged in red spray paint. Traitor. Ava started rotating motel rooms every 2 nights. Unmarked cars idled outside temporary offices. Eli, quiet and alert, watched from the shadows. Then he acted. On the edge of town, he found a payphone. The old kind, still working, still private. He dialed a number he hadn't used in nearly 10 years. "The eagle needs new talons," he said when the line picked up. A beat, then a laugh. "Tare? That really you?" "I need your help, Q. It's happening again." New battlefield. Hours later, a matte black van rolled into Riverbrook, Painted on its side, Q's Tech Haven. We fix what others can't. Out came Quincy Q. Morales, former comms tech from Eli's unit. Paralyzed waist down after an IED in 2006, now a cyber warlord with a laptop and a mission. With him came 3 more. Trace Hamilton, ex-military police, counterintelligence. Jordan Link Peterson, NSA-grade cybersecurity wizard. Marcus Ghost Wilson, digital forensics specialist, ghost operations expert. They weren't hackers, they were insurgents in a data war. Within hours, Q's team transformed Ava's borrowed office into a war room. Monitors lined the walls, police band radios buzzed. Encrypted phones replaced everyone's devices. Q leaned over the central monitor. Shieldmen are connected, like a spine. We're going to map it, track it, break it. Rachel stood in awe. Ghost tapped into traffic cams. Link scrubbed records. Trace followed the money. We follow 3 lines, Q explained. People, power, payment. While they mapped corruption, Rachel found her voice. She filmed interviews with other veterans, men and women like Eli, once heroes, now discarded. She edited late into the night, splicing war zone footage with present-day reality, shelters, bruises, cuffs. She titled it, From Hero to Disposable. It went viral. Veterans groups reposted. Civil rights leaders demanded action. A senator tweeted it, "This can't stand." Eli watched quietly, always quiet. But when Rachel's footage was flagged, when it vanished from feeds, when the threats escalated, he stood up. "They're scared," he said. Ava nodded. "Good. That means they know what's coming." Eli shook his head. "No, that means they'll get reckless." And he was right. In the dark corners of Riverbrook, the shieldmen began to move. Less careful, more brutal. But this time, Eli wasn't alone. Rachel never made it to the sandwich shop. The cruiser came fast, no sirens, no warning. Kyle stepped out first, the same smirk on his face, badge gleaming like a threat. Barnes followed, eyes hard. They didn't speak, they didn't ask. They grabbed her, shoved her into the back seat. The street was full of people, but no one moved. They didn't take her to the station. Instead, they drove her out past the city limits, to a rusted warehouse near the train yard. A dead zone, no cameras, no patrols, not even listed on municipal maps. But they forgot something. Eli was already watching. Q's surveillance net had eyes on every corner of Riverbrook. Traffic cams, phone pings, even a hacked drone circling the industrial district. "She's in the outbuilding," Ghost confirmed. 2 signatures inside. Eli checked his watch. "Let's bring her home." The team moved in formation, 4 veterans, no weapons, just precision. They breached the back in silence. Inside, Rachel sat tied to a chair, bruised, blood on her lip, but her eyes burned defiance. A recorder hidden in her boot was still running. Barnes didn't see the strike coming. One move from Eli, quick, clean, silent, unconscious, disarmed, uninjured, just like Eli intended. 15 minutes later, Rachel was back in the safe house. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "They said no one would believe a junkie or a war freak. They said they bury people like that." Ava listened to the audio. Her expression didn't change, but her voice, when she spoke, cut sharp. "This is the kill shot," she said. "Combined with Jameson's testimony, the complaints, the missing men, this is it. We've got them." Rachel's next video dropped that night. It opened with her bruised face. Then came her voice, calm, cold, layered over footage of police abuse, wiretaps, body cam clips. Q's team pulled from a hidden Shieldman server. It named names. It showed faces. It told the world what Riverbrook had tried to bury. By morning, "Jurchir justice for Eli" was the top trending phrase in the country. News outlets ran the footage nonstop. Civil rights groups swarmed the town. Ava got a call from Washington. The Department of Justice had launched a federal investigation into the Riverbrook PD and the Shieldman network. But victory had a cost. Officer Barnes, recently suspended, was found dead behind the station. Cause of death, overdose, but his wire was gone. His body showed signs of a staged fall. "They're tying off loose ends," Eli told Ava, "and Brick's next." Captain Brick had vanished. No statement, no sightings, no trail. But Q found him. A drone spotted him at a private airfield, duffel bag in hand, heading toward a Falcon Corps registered jet. "We've got 3 hours," Ava said. "If he leaves, he takes the truth with him." Eli turned to his team, the same men who had once carried him across burning sands, the ones who didn't flinch in war. "We stop him," he said. "No violence, no mistakes. We end it right." The airfield was quiet, blanketed in shadows. The Falcon Corps jet sat ready, its engines warming beneath a sky turning from black to steel gray. Inside the safe house, Rachel uploaded the final drop. Shieldman training videos, internal memos, financial payouts. Every file Q's team had decrypted was going online. Ava organized the legal arsenal, charges, testimonies, witness protection. This wasn't just another arrest. This was an end game. Brick walked fast across the tarmac, a duffel slung over his shoulder. He moved like a man who knew time was vanishing beneath his boots, but not fast enough. Eli and his squad moved into position, silent in the dark. Drones tracked every step. Link jammed outgoing signals. Ghost confirmed the co-pilot's ID, ex-private security, shieldman aligned. As Brick reached the jet's ladder, a figure stepped out of the shadows, lit by the jet's landing lights. Eli Turner. "This is the end of the road," he said. Brick froze. "You can't stop this." "We already did." Sirens pierced the dawn as DOJ agents pulled onto the tarmac. Brick tried to run. He didn't make it 10 steps. Hours later, the Riverbrook Community Center overflowed. Veterans, families, activists, reporters, shoulder to shoulder in a hall that had never known this much truth. Ava stood at the podium. She didn't begin with charges. She began with names: David West, Thomas Raines, Diane Miller, Elijah Turner. Faces appeared behind her on screens. People erased, targeted, nearly forgotten. "This isn't about one town," she said. "It's about what happens when silence becomes policy." One by one, witnesses spoke. Rachel, voice steady. Jameson, voice breaking. Elderly veterans, weeping as they recounted being dumped outside city limits in winter with no meds, no names. Ava laid out the Shieldman protocols, the financial links to Falcon Corps, the training audio from Brick's own sessions. We clean house, we make space for progress. And then came Q's feed. Broadcasted from a secure location, internal Shieldman files flooded the screens. Target lists, bribe payments, disappearance logs. No one in the crowd moved. Many wept. Others clenched fists, but none looked away. Then Eli took the mic. He didn't read from paper. He didn't raise his voice. "My name is Elijah Turner," he said. "I served this country. 3 tours, 2 Purple Hearts, a Silver Star. I buried brothers in foreign deserts. I carried others home." He paused. "And when I came back, I became invisible." He scanned the room. "Not because I changed, but because what I represent makes people uncomfortable. I am a reminder of promises made and broken, of sacrifice, of silence." He turned to the cameras. "But we're not invisible anymore. Not me. Not the people you pass on the street. Not the ones under bridges or in diners, minding their own peace. We are the living cost of your freedom." He held up his dog tags, worn, tarnished, unforgotten. "You don't earn freedom once. You fight for it at home, for each other." The room stood still. Then came the applause, raw, relentless, righteous. By nightfall, half of Riverbrook PD's command had been arrested. Shieldman cells in other towns began to crack. National outlets played Eli's speech in full. Civil rights attorneys flooded Ava's inbox. Falcon Corps' stock crashed. And Eli? He didn't wait for a headline. He walked Rachel to her car, hugged Q, nodded at Ava. Then he left the town he saved, boots crunching in the snow, no longer invisible, now unforgettable.